Hi, I'm Jason Walker. This is Walker Tea Review, and we are ramming our noses into the Gaiwan of tea enjoyment and appreciation. Won't you join us today as we look at Golden Dragon from Mighty Leaf. We're going to go ahead and get this one ready to go. And this is a shared tasting. So if you have your Mighty Leaf tea ready to go, go ahead and get out your Gaiwan. We're using the Gaiwan today. This is about an 80 milliliter Gaiwan. It's from Grand Teas, and it's what we're going to be using because it's a traditional Chinese style, and we do have a Chinese style tea. Now I'm gathering out, as you see, this teaspoon is a full rounded teaspoon, not too heaping, and because we have a fairly small Gaiwan here, this is going to be enough tea. So we're going to go ahead, add that. I'm going to go ahead also add our water. Now our water has been brought close to boil and has allowed to cool for a minute or two. So this is still around 180, 190 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and add our water in here. Remember, with the Gaiwan, we're going to want to be able to have a seal with the liquid so that when you place your lid on, a little bit of water sticks over the top of the lid, the upper surface. So add a little bit more. You don't want your leaves to get trapped, so you're going to want to kind of slide around, push those leaves around so that you get a nice seal. There we are. Okay, I'm going to set this down, get our water out of the way. This is ready to go. We're going to give it some time to steep, and as we do, we're going to be going through our tea tasting and tea appreciation process. To do that, we're going to be doing a couple of things. We're going to be looking at the dry leaf, going to make a few comments, the wet leaf, the liquor as well, and kind of wrap it all up. So the first thing we want to do is talk about the dry leaf. Now, if you are ready to take some notes of your own at home, this would be a good time to start preparing that, because first we're going to be looking at the dry leaf. Go ahead and take a few notes if you'd like. You may want to talk about the shape of the leaf, the aromas or smells that come off the leaf, and the color. Color can give you some clues as to the degree of freshness of the leaf. So one thing we're going to talk about as we kind of lead into that, again, this is Mighty Leaf's Golden Dragon, advertised online, 3 ounces for $16. Okay. Now, again, you may want to pause a little bit if you didn't have enough time to take all your notes. But again, don't pause for too long, because then your steep time will be different from my steep time. If it's drastically different, the results could be different. The tasting results could be different as well. So, if you are ready to move on, here's what we're going to be looking at is our leaf shape. Just to get a little sniff of the leaves as well. Yeah, now first off, what I'm getting, of course, is our smell, and it's labeled a Golden Dragon, I should say. It says, the website states that it's from Zhejiang Province. The name Dragon, the location of Zhejiang Province. Also the appearance of the leaf. Let me go ahead and pull out a few of these leaves. The appearance of the leaf resembles the process of a dragon well or a Longjing type tea, although that's not the specific name used here. It's very close. Okay, so we're going to talk about this as if it were a dragon well tea. And aromas, I'm getting a little bit of a kind of a hint of lemon peel. I'm getting also some kind of rather less than fully fresh smells. A little bit of a cardboard type smell that I'm getting. Our colors, I should also talk a little bit about. I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, the other notes I got in previous sniffings as well was kind of like a dry pasta. It had a bit of a less than vibrant green aroma to it. But other things you note is that our leaf is a flat seared type of leaf. It is a olive green to a little bit of a green brown in color. It does have some fuzz on it, indicating these were younger, more delicate tips or young leaves. I do get a little bit of some two-leaf connected with a bud or a tip. So that's a characteristic also of the dragon well. But let's set this aside and let's take a look at our liquid, which should have had enough time to steep by now. And yes, that's looking pretty good. So you notice one of the things I'm doing, because the upper liquor on top of the cup can look thinner or less have less color than what's on the bottom. If you'll stir it a little bit, it'll give you an indication of how steep, how much it has steeped, and how the overall color, dissipated color of the liquor. So we're going to go ahead and we're ready to pour. We're taking our longest finger, our thumb for the rim. We're putting our index finger on the lid to hold down the lid. We've left a small crack there so that the water can steep through without getting a lot of leaves inside. And here we go. As we do this, we're also going to be next preparing to talk about our wet leaf. And again, our wet leaf, we want to be looking at the color of the wet leaf. Has it changed significantly? We're going to be talking about the aromas of the wet leaf. What can we get from that? Sometimes your leaf, especially like in this case, because it was pan-seared and the leaf was pressed together flat, after it's steeped, it's loosened up and opened, and we can kind of look at what the wet leaf looks like after it's been loosened up by the heat of the water. So if you want to make notes about that, go ahead and do that. You can take a little bit more time on this, but you don't want to go too far, because again, if your liquor cools too much, you may not be able to detect some of the flavors and aromas compared to a hotter cup. So if you're ready to move on and talk a little bit about our aromas, let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to pick this up and we're going to get a sniff. Get a sniff in the other nostril and then kind of together. And one more. Yeah. Again, I'm getting a beany note. This is characteristic of a lot of green teas. And a way to kind of compare and get this kind of taste experience on your own, get a little bit of a background, I guess, would be to take a few of your long, thin green, French cut style green beans. Drink a little bit of that juice, taste a little bit of that green bean. That's the kind of beany element that I'm talking about here that I get from this. Also, a lot of your teas like this can have a kind of, well, this one in particular, I'll start with that to say, I get a bit of a kind of like a roasted peanut, dry roasted peanut element to it as well. So that's what I'm getting. Also, we can talk a little bit now. We've had a little bit of time to cool here. And you can see that, yes, we do have a lighter green color. We do have a leaf here. I'm trying to open it very delicately because I believe there is a even more delicate tip, yes, inside of that. Here we are. Another one. I'm going to set these aside. It'll be worth looking at later, because you do see a leaf that has wrapped around a tip again. Again, these still look quite fuzzy, telling you that these are quite immature leaves. Okay, I'm going to keep those aside. Yeah. Now, next thing we're going to be looking at, of course, is our liquid. Time again, if you need to take a few moments and make your own notes. You'll find that your own notes, if you'll make your own notes first and then listen to others, it will give you a more fuller perspective than just listening first and writing what you hear. It can affect what you find and what you detect in the liquid, in the liquor. Now, moving on, if you're ready to move on from that, some of the things you're going to notice are expectations. A dragon well, aromas and elements in the liquor include things that we would expect would be bok choy, or bai tai is the Mandarin pronunciation. Let me think what else. I get a kind of, if you made a soup, if you chopped up a few bok choy leaves, put it in some water, threw in maybe 1 or 2 salted roasted cashews, put that in there. That's what you're going to get. That's pretty close, not completely, but quite close. If it's a higher quality Dragon Well, you're going to get very low level of bitterness. You're still going to get some astringency, but it's not going to be like excessively drying, or it's not going to be even as drying or as astringent as a black tea. It should give you a very gentle element of astringency to it. So these are some of the things that we're going to look for and see what we have to compare with this. One of the things that we're going to be noticing as we look, of course, is our color. And our color here is, it's clear, but it's a kind of a duller yellow. It's not a brighter, lighter colored yellow, which this is the color that I have associated and seen from like a cup that has been, a long cup of Longines that's been poured, left to sit and cool for about half an hour, and the air and the cooling aspects do change the color, and of course affect the flavor. So that's something that we want to note. This is not your peak optimal color for a Dragon Well tea. Okay, but let's go ahead and see what flavors are available to us. Now, I am getting that that kind of cardboard type smell, profile, aroma that I got in the dry leaf that is carrying over to this. I am getting a little bit of that dry roasted peanut element as well. Overall, I would say the texture and the body are not as profound as some of the higher quality Dragon Wells that I've tasted previously. Actually, this one, to be fully honest, this one tastes like a second, third, or fourth cup of a higher quality Dragon Well. So the astringency is there, not overpowering. The aftertaste faded away pretty quickly. Again, not that impressive. Aftertaste really didn't have much anything unique or extra to add. And overall, so just to kind of wrap up and talk about what this tea is, because of our leaves, our dry leaf, I should say, that looked a little browner, looked a little like it had more age on it, because our wet leaf did not bring out a lot of the characteristic aromas, and especially the liquor, that it did not have a full range, and because it did seem to just kind of have some age on it. This is, again, an issue of, kind of helps us to understand why so many people out there, they want to get into a green tea, they want to try new teas, but they don't want to go over their budget, and so they choose something like this, and possibly they get put off forever because they picked a tea that wasn't spectacular, that didn't really show its best options. So this is the kind of thing that we as a group, we want to be able to share our tasting experiences so that we can help others, so that we can avoid choosing a bad tea, a tea that's going to, not the best use of our money. So to kind of overall wrap up Mighty Leaf's Golden Dragon, we have to give it a 79, because this is the tea. These are the kinds of teas, at least in this stage of freshness, that just put people off, and we want more people to enjoy teas. So if you have a comment, I know there are a lot of you out there who are watching. I'm using my little web tools. I know you're out there. I know the cities you're from. I know the states you're from. If you have nothing to tell us about a good tea or about this particular tea, share with us a bad tea that you would like us all to avoid. Help us out here, okay? I'm Jason Walker, and this is Walker Tea Review.